Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Aidan's Observed. I'm your host, Ed Vickery, and as ever, we'll be joined by Zoe Bellison. Hello, Zoe.
Hello.
And today we have four guest superstars. So we have, first of all, Alex Ingham, hockey social phenomenon and engineer. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Ed. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. We also have Emily Jolliffe, JCR veteran, and Emily, I've forgotten what your degree is. What do you do again?
I study PPE and higher.
And PPE student as well. Hello, Emily. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. And then we also have Govind Nair, a good friend of mine, JournoCom member, and dare I say politics, is it?
Also PPE, Ed.
Oh, PPE. Well, there's politics in there. Oh,
yeah.
Well, brilliant.
One of the three.
Govind?
I'm good.
Yes.
It's good to be on the podcast, Ed. Thanks for having me.
You see, we have one grateful member of the star guest. That's fantastic. And last but definitely not least, we have the supreme leader of JournoCom, Saoirse Ellis herself is among us. Hello, Saoirse. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, I'm quite excited for all of this. We thought for our first segment, well, I was thinking, there's a lot of talk at the moment about, there's light at the end of the tunnel with this whole COVID situation. But I think for a lot of freshers, we're a bit unsure about what that light actually is. And so we've got Alex here to talk to us about the floodlit and what all that is, because I think that's a great example. So Zoe is going to ask the first question.
So as a fresher, obviously, we've not gotten to experience really sports or societies much this term and this whole year, actually. So could you maybe introduce us to the floodlit a little bit and tell us what it's about, what we could expect?
Yeah, so basically, there's usually floodlits for both rugby and football, if I remember. And basically what it is it's like an inter-college cup tournament. So all the colleges put forward a team, and each match is a knockout match. So if you win your game, you progress on to the next match, things like that. And basically, it's just an opportunity as well for everyone in the college to go down and support your team. So be it say Aidan's football team or Aidan's rugby team or any other team who might have a floodlit match. It's a chance for, say, all friends of the guys who are playing, or if you're just interested in watching the sport, really, to go down and watch the games, and sort of it's just sort of a bit of a chance for everyone to sort of enjoy themselves, and it can be a bit of a social aspect to it as well.
Alex, last year as well, Aidan's had a pretty good time of it in one of the floodlit tournaments. I was just wondering what your favourite memories of the floodlit have been over the years.
Well, I have to say, watching Aidan's football have that fantastic cup run last year was brilliant, and it was such a shame that it was brought short just before the final with COVID preventing us playing the final game. But yeah, I have to say that was definitely up there for a high memory. Watch even some of the all the individual games, though. So it's been great, really. And say when you get down there with all your mates, and say some teams you can have turn it into a bit of a social as well. So say all the hockey boys came down and we all watched the matches, things like that. So yeah, just to be honest, I say I've enjoyed them all as much as each other, really. I've always had a good time whenever I've gone to watch floodlit. So yeah.
And you're right about that as well with the cup run that Aidan's went on. The football team last year was quite extraordinary. I have to say I don't remember too much about the semi-final for wine-related reasons, but but no, I remember. But the feelings, though, the passion, it was absolutely there. I was wondering as well if we open this up, because I know Saoirse and I'm pretty sure Emily as well, and maybe Govind. Have you guys been to the floodlit as well? Did you have any particular memories perhaps you could share with us as well?
Just been really, really cold and really, really wet.
Yeah, so the photo, everyone is pretty wrapped up in all of the photos, to be fair. Yeah, remember that the first one I went to, I wasn't quite prepared, and it was a chilly evening. What about you, Emily? Have you've been to Floodlit as well?
Yeah. I think I've been to all the floodlits that I could have gone to. Yeah, they're just like super fun, very, very cold. And like I swear half the ones I've been to it's been like pouring with rain, but they're always so fun. And then like I don't know, well with me, like all of my friends would like go to the club afterwards and you all like go together. And yeah, it's just that's like a fun environment. And then like I know it's just good atmosphere, like supporting Aidan's and like same sport. And it's really fun.
No, absolutely. And I think in the edit, if it's possible, I'll try and put some photos up there of the flooded as well. Because I know photos were taken. The big question is whether I'm able to do that technologically. Govind, have you ever been to the floodlit?
I did go last year before, all the Corona shut everything down. It's just a good atmosphere. You go with your friends, you watch, you get pissed, and then everyone goes out afterwards. And you support Aidan as well. It really gets you into the, Aidan spirit, the college, culture. It's good.
And I think the other thing perhaps to mention with this as well, the quote unquote getting pissed, is that I believe with sports teams as well, when you get a discount for the Wednesday players, which is like a big clubbing event that goes on in Durham afterwards. So it all ties in very well. You have the matches on the Wednesday evening, and then you have the clubbing on just after that, and it's like £2 to get in if you use the Aidan's discount code. So yeah, pretty fantastic. So I think you had the next question. No.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you, Alex, have ever played in a floodlit match, and if so, what impact did the crowd have?
So to be honest, I've never actually played in one myself, but I think I've been a member in the crowd in almost every one. But I would say from being in the crowd, I would say I'm sure it's got to help the players out, because you see people there with like vuvuzelas and like drums, and there is so much noise and atmosphere going on, and it must be a great feeling. Say when Aidan's have scored, say, and the whole of the sideline just erupts, and everyone's cheering everyone on, and yeah, it must help massively, to be honest.
I would also add to that, especially because from all the ones that I went to, Aidan's, and I'm not just saying this but as a biased member of Aidan's, but we seem to always have the loudest fans, especially if you're looking at us versus Hatfield or a college like that. So that must surely, in my mind, that gives us an edge. But
against Milder as well, Vicky, that's another one. They're sort of like a bit of a rival of ours and Milder. So that's always a good one to watch. But yeah, no, it's quite fun sort of being in the crowd as well, because you get the crowd from both teams sort of singing like a bit of banter to each other as well, and it's all good fun, really, isn't it? It's all good fun.
Perhaps at the end of the podcast, you could give us a rendition of one of the Aidan's chants, Alex.
Not sure if I'll be allowed to do that, but
might have to conveniently forget them. Absolutely, and obviously at the start as well, we said you are of course a member of the social scene of many sports clubs, and I just thought we could speak about socials more generally as well, because again we haven't really had too many no sports socials this term. So yeah, perhaps you could tell us a bit about that, what goes on and everything like that.
Yeah, so basically what it is, it's just a chance on, say, any night of the week that we decide to have one, or on a weekend, to sort of like get the guys together in the team to sort of meet up on a social aspect, not just on the sport that you play. Basically, what it is, say, like you can book an option, so you can book a slot in like in the bar in Aidan's, and you can go there as a team, and you can basically just like you can play some games, or you can chat. Like a lot of the different clubs have different traditions, so the socials depend sort of very much upon what club you're part of. But say like with hockey, we always have some traditions that basically like you can't be late, things like that. All little fun and games. I'm not going to go into, because I don't want to say something I shouldn't say. But
and also, to be fair, the first rule is no coaching.
Well, there you go, Vicky. You've
a rule that really caught me out in first year quite a bit, but
yeah,
there you go. But no, absolutely, and I think I also have a theory that they help the team on the pitch as well. In my mind, a healthy team off the pitch, well, not physically healthy, obviously, but a healthy social team off the pitch is a good one on the pitch as well, because you really have that team mentality.
Definitely. And one thing I would say is, like, whenever you're on the socials, it's always good to try and do something that everyone can get involved in and get behind. Because then it just means that, like, as you say, you develop as a team, you get to know your teammates better, and then ultimately they just become your mates. So like, when Vickery joined, for example, I didn't know at all, and then through hockey, like, pretty good friends now. So it's good. It's a really good chance to sort of meet people and meet like new people who are sort of like you wouldn't ordinarily come across as well.
Yeah. Well, first year liberal arts student versus third year engineer, absolutely. That's a good example of that. And also maybe something specific examples of social. So I seem to remember, what did we have? We had the Hockey Olympics, and we had we did
cricket,
some kind of
cricket social. That's always a good fun one. So so every year we have a cricket social. And there's I don't know if you remember, but do you remember the Mitchell and Webb look on cricket? We always post that video out and say, come dressed as something from this video. So you get everyone turned up in cricket gear, and sometimes we sort of reenact some of the scenes while we're on the social, things like that. That's always good fun. And I think do you remember Vickery last year from the cricket social? We actually had a cricket ball on the table that we were bowling down the table to someone at the other end who was batting. And we basically turned that into a bit of a game as well. So that was a really good fun social.
I think that was the first social I went to and committed to. The first social I went to, if I'm being honest, I didn't really know what was going on, so I kind of was a bit I was a bit scared, if I'm being honest, with the podcast. The cricket one was the first one I committed to, and then I realized that this is definitely something worth getting behind. So thank you very much for that, Alex. Really appreciate it. And so I think we're going to take a little break here. That was the end of segment 1. Next up it will be Agony Aunt with Saoirse and Govind. And now, Zoe, what is the next segment?
Okay, so next up for our second segment, we have Saoirse and Govind, our Agony Aunts, to answer Aidan's questions. Okay, so the first question is, someone asks, I'm stressed about returning to Durham and college, having heard about the extra security. Right, yeah, that wasn't really a question, but you get it.
The first thing I would say is we've had a few meetings with Susan about that issue. So I think she understands a lot of the complaints that have been kind of given, and I think there's sort of stuff in motion now to try and calm all that stuff down. So I think I would say if you have any real concerns, then definitely message welfare or message anyone really on the exec or anything, and we can pass them on. But in terms of just in general, yeah, it seems like it's getting addressed.
Yeah, I don't think it's I think college likes to talk a lot more than it actually take action. They always say this stuff about extra security, but I mean, last term I don't know if I should say this, but I was just going into college all the time anyway, and it was fine. I think all the security and all the measures put in place is to help you, and no one's going to be against you. So even if you do something wrong by accident, it'll just be fine. Someone will tell you, "Oh, don't do that. Don't go into the other person's corridor," and be sorted out.
I don't know why I was given this question specifically to ask, but how do you approach a housemate who won't shower? He wants to fire away with that one. I shower every day. I want that on record, by the way.
Yeah. There's the nuclear option where you can, force them to shower.
Spray some bleach on them.
What I would suggest is just pour something really stinky on them, so they have no choice but to wash it off. because that just cuts through all the stuff. And just say it was an accident, then there's no issue there, just substances such as
But then what
mustard.
if they still don't shower? Like if
I
they
would
just like,
say
don't care about
everyone-
the spilled mustard on them.
Buy
stuff.
hazmat suits for all your housemates first, and then if it gets too bad and the suits aren't good enough, do a extraction mission to their room and take them and like throw them in the shower like a chemical shower.
Yeah, like you know when people fall asleep and then they put them on like an airbed and push them out into the lake.
Yeah,
That, but with a shower.
except with a shower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're lucky enough to have a bath in your house, like just get a nice bath going and then just trick them, and then they fall in. Yeah.
These are hardcore measures being suggested by the podcast.
I mean, it must be a pretty big problem if they asked us about it. Like it's not just a one-off thing. This has been going on for a while.
Walk into that room and know that person's there before you get in. The smell is that bad, kind of thing.
Exactly. It's like having a compass.
Oh, it's the GPS recognition system, but of how bad someone's housemates is. Oh, that poor person. The next question I was also given, but I'm fully behind this. I cannot sleep at night because I am just too excited about the next episode of Bridgerton. Help. That's what the question is. I can empathise with that. Do we have any Bridgerton fans in the Zoom call?
Well, I know that you are a really, really big Bridgerton fan. You started out not liking it, but
it's true.
You ended up loving it.
Yes, it is true. The context for this
I
Yes. Oh no, sorry. I was just going to say the context is Saoirse was with Ashley, my housemate. They were watching it whilst I was making my dinner, and I went back into the living room to see what they were watching. Rolled my eyes, went back to cook some things, and then eventually I realised, actually, why don't I start watching this? And I was hooked. But sorry, Saoirse. What were you going to say?
You slowly migrated in instead for a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're not committing to it, I think that's a mistake. I think that you need to go all or nothing and just watch the whole thing. Although I think there's a photo somewhere on maybe the Netflix Instagram about the points that you shouldn't watch with your parents. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that one.
Wait, why can't you watch some of it with your friends? I mean,
there's sex scenes going.
Have you seen it, Govind?
Full frontal nudity.
That's like just with your. It's not like you're watching it with your parents.
Yeah, but I'm saying in case you watch it with your parents and you're very excited to watch the next episode with them, potentially don't.
I thought you said.
Yeah, no, Saoirse, you're right about that. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. On your first point there, Alex, you look like a man who hasn't watched Bridgerton before. Have you ever seen it?
I could categorize. I've never seen it. I don't even know what it is. I've absolutely no idea. All of this has just gone straight over my head.
What about you, Emily? Have you ever watched Bridgerton?
Controversially, I've watched the first 1 or 2 episodes and just haven't watched the rest. I keep saying I'll watch it because my housemate Cash has like binged it and she wants to watch it again. She was like, "Come watch it together." But
That's what I did. I watched it and then I got Ashley and Ed to watch it a second time.
Well, I think basically, I don't know if any of this is probably really embarrassing to admit, but I don't know if any of you have seen Rain on Netflix, like REIGN.
Oh,
but
my
it's
God,
like a period drama.
Like Poisonous Rain. Oh, wait.
No, I have seen it. I've seen it.
No.
Could you spell that again?
It's like a period drama about Mary Queen of Scots.
Oh.
Like the Queen's Reign, like REIGN.
Oh, okay. I thought you were spelling
and that has my heart in terms of like period. Yeah, in terms of like period dramas, that's just where my heart lies. I mean, you watch it when you're like 12, but I'm still not over it. So I don't know. I can't like.
Nothing compares to it.
To, like watch Bridgerton. Exactly. I don't want to like be disloyal, you know. So yeah, I have
it on Netflix.
Sadly.
Wait, is it like Bridgerton? Is it like Bridgerton without the sex or something?
Well, no. There's a lot of like allusion to sex, but no actual sex scenes. Which is maybe quite sad, but it's just very good, and it has a very, very good looking main character. Yeah, it's very good.
You never get to see him have sex.
I'm thinking he might get interested in it. Zoe, you're not a fan of Bridgerton either. You have a bit of apathy towards it.
I mean, Emily's just reminded me of Rain, which I watched when I was younger as well, and also had a strong obsession with. But Bridgerton, I don't know. I feel like I was excited about it at first, and then it got really popular, and I got kind of like salty because I was really excited about it at the start, and no one wanted to watch it with me. Then it got really popular, and yeah, it's just very upsetting. But it's decent. Like it's good, but I'm not like ecstatic at the next season type thing.
That's tough. And you have the next question, I think, Zoe.
Yes. Okay. So someone asks, my 5K time is just too fast and others are jealous of my Strava account. What do I do?
Is this you, Emily, who posted this question? Ashley's told me about your average running times. I don't really believe them, but...
I think Emily should answer this one.
So wait, what was the question? I like clocked out when I said that it was about running. So wait, the 5K times are too fast.
People are getting jealous of their 5K times.
Oh. Well, please hit me up and teach me how to run a very, very fast 5K. And we can get around.
You're saying Aisling isn't fast enough?
Well, I'm also not fast enough. As in, this person can teach me how to run. Because I'm not sure if anyone's jealous of my 5K time, but I'd like people to be jealous of my 5K time. So if this person, whoever you are, please message me, and you can train me how to run fast, and then we can suffer the jealousy of other people together. Problem shared is problem halved, as they say.
Yeah, Saoirse and Govind, are you 5K runners yourselves, or?
I did Couch to 5K.
Oh yeah.
And that went well, but then I stopped, so I no longer do 5Ks. So I can't help with this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've never been in the position where people have been jealous of my 5K time. So I don't know how well I can help you with that. I mean, yeah.
Maybe this person just needs to take up a diet of donuts and beer, and then suddenly no one will be jealous of their 5K times anymore. Okay? Adopt the Jeremy Clarkson approach to evolution. Alex, you do 5Ks. You do running.
Do a bit of running.
Twice a week or something.
I've started up this term really again. Running with my housemate Toby. So we run together. Though it's very much me trying to keep up with him because he's actually rapid. So I'm there absolutely dying when we get back. He looks absolutely fun. But yeah, so I've been doing some 5Ks. We found actually there's some really nice routes around the back of MC and like through the woods on there. There's some really nice routes around there. So we've been running those maybe 2-3 times a week, things like that. So
see, this is interesting because when
you also run 5Ks, I thought.
Yeah, but I don't want to speak about my 5K times because they're quite embarrassing. No, this is. But I tell you what, this is interesting news from Alex because when I was speaking to him in private a couple of weeks ago, I said, "Oh, what's your 5K times?" And he told me, and he was just like, "Oh, yes, you see, but if I was running alone, I would be much faster. It's my housemates that are keeping me back."
When did I say that, Vicky?
So this is interesting. You definitely said that. He's like, "Oh, yes, if I was running by myself, it would be a bit bigger, man." It was a time you told me anyway.
That can't have been wrong with Toby. Maybe I don't know.
Can't have been you just got out one of your housemates.
Who's your housemate then?
I'm not outing anyone. They're all.
Fish out the goss.
No, I'm not outing anybody. I'm not outing anybody.
It's fine, Alex. In public, you're being nice about your housemates. That's good.
The thing is, they might watch this, and I don't want to out anyone. The thing is, it's. No, you know what? Nah.
I love the idea of someone watching the podcast.
Well, yeah, the fact that if someone watches this and then they get mustard dumped on them, then they're gonna know. They're gonna know why.
The audience decreases by 100%. So you have the next question as well, don't you?
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is someone asks, "I don't think I'm ready to start socializing post-corona yet, but all I want is a cheeky pint. What do I do?"
You just buy it, and like if it's a bottle one, you find like a nearby sign and just put it on top and break the bottle the cap off. Get your adventurous nature out. I don't know what's the question even meant to be. It's like you want a pint.
Yeah.
Is that a tutorial on how to open a pint, Govind?
No, it's a tutorial on how to open a bottle like when there's no bottle opener around. It's what
I don't think they mentioned there not being a bottle opener.
And also, if you want to keep your teeth and not chip them, that's the...
Well, actually, that's actually a really good question, because one time I tried to open a bottle with a knife, which you can do, but I didn't know how to do that. So I did it wrong, and I ended up cutting my fingers open, and there's like basically a scar on my knuckle from doing that because I had.
That's what I did once. No,
Yeah.
so I wanted to get a new notch in my belt because I didn't want to buy a new one. So I got a knife and I was like, right, I'm just gonna like cut a new notch. And I started stabbing it, and then the knife slipped and then just cut my finger, and I had to go to hospital. It was a fun time.
Okay, well, next time don't listen to me and Govind then.
Yeah, we've got excellent panel members to solve your problems for you.
No, if you need a cheeky pint, but you don't want to start socializing, you have to go to post lockdown. Go to one of those like really weird pubs in Durham, like the ones where it's basically just like the three locals who live nearby who go there and no one else. They're actually quite nice, so I don't blame you if you just want a cheeky pint all to yourself. And it's not like they're going to talk to you unless you want to be social.
What I would also add to the mix here, though, is I know people have had good socials within their houses, just with your housemates. And I think that is well and truly possible within the coronavirus period. So we saw behind the scenes what Alex has been getting up to. But we've had some good. It is possible to have more than a couple of pints and a bit of music. I'm not sure why I'm suddenly becoming a guru on all partying. Anytime, guys, if you have any good suggestions of what you guys have been doing.
Do you have any playlist recommendations, Ed?
I do, but I won't give them to you because on the off chance that someone is listening here and they want to impress someone with the podcast, with their music, then it would really damage them. My music isn't brilliant. It's an instant turn off actually for me. If a girl asks me, what music do you like? I've tried about 3 or 4 different answers, 3 or 4 different genres. Every time they just go, okay, and then walk away. So it doesn't end too well for me. But I tell you what,
would you like some Agony Aunt advice about how to answer that question?
No, I'm fine. For me, if the girl doesn't like me because of my music, then they're gonna not like me for other reasons as well. So it's a good vetting process for them.
What's the best answer then, Saoirse, to that question?
Oh God, no, I don't have the answer either. I was just asking if you wanted some advice.
Oh, if you want Agony Aunt advice for that, Ed, we can't give you it.
Thank you.
Is that?
You know what I'd say? Vickery. What I'd say is follow me on Spotify.
Oh, I have Apple Music, Alex. This is a
play
real
my
problem.
hype playlist, and trust me, it works for anything. Cooking. So, well, I can't help you then.
Sorry, my internet connection's unstable. Can you guys see me okay? Because I might pause the recording and go onto a hotspot. Or it's okay? Is it fixed now?
Yeah, we can. It's a little bit out of sync.
As they say, Sky, believe in buffer. Anyway, the next question though is relevant to me as well because I feel like I could be the person that is under fire here. My home friend doesn't understand Durham. Brackets, flares, Stantons, Clute, beer, college spouses, hummus. Any advice? I don't know what at least 2 of the things.
Why did you say Stantons so weirdly?
I don't know what they are.
It's not Stantons.
What is it? How can Zoe be a fresher and she knows more about this than me as well? What is going on?
What is Stantons?
Oh my God.
The fish and chips
you, Govind.
On Neville Street. Duh.
Hey,
Have you never been to the Viaduct? Or North Road?
What is it?
I mean, there's
a fish and chip shop.
Isn't there another fish and chips place that's like more famous, like Bell's or something? Or
Bell's.
Yeah.
But that's like
that one's the famous one.
That's a bit more upmarket. Stanton's is like night out, 2 in the morning. On the way home.
Yeah, you were going to say 3 in the morning there, Emily, but then you thought none of us would believe that you'd be up at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I was like, Durham clubs don't open that late.
Emily just gets the Stantons on the way back from her 5Ks.
Yeah, from my embarrassingly fast 5Ks that everyone's jealous of.
So what Emily does is actually, if you really want to improve your 5K speed, you ring Stantons, order your Stantons, and then you have to run there before it's ready. Incentive.
a good idea.
You know, I actually empathize a lot with the person asking this question, because this is literally my life. When I leave Durham, I want to talk about all this stuff, but then it's like I'm speaking a different language to them, to everyone at home, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we went to Clue, and my college wife, and they're like, what are you on about?
You're married.
It's just terrible. I've got 2 college husbands and 1 college wife, so I'm a bit of a bigamist, but so it's a good life. But yeah, I don't know, Saoirse, do you have any answers on how to cross the Durham cultural divide?
Well, I had to cross the Ireland-England cultural divide when I got over here, so I'm well versed. I think the best thing to do is just explain everything, and then if they forget, it's their own fault, That's what I do anyway. Or create a priv, that's another one, and then just explain everything. That's another thing that I did. Or invite your friends, then they'll understand. I had one of my friends up in first year, so.
Sorry, Saoirse, I missed
You've frozen. Is it?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi.
It's recording again.
Yes, we're recording. Sorry, my Wi-Fi just happened again, so I missed some of that, and we've had a bit of technical difficulties. But I feel like we got the gist of that point. The only other thing I was going to say from this list, for me, I think beer is the thing that stands out. I still have friends who back at home just point blank refuse to drink beer, and I don't get why. Am I alone here?
Yeah, I think it's because it's so cheap in Durham.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, that's weird because
actually how cheap drinks are in Durham. People are very shocked by.
Well, not in all of Durham though. Just at the college bars. Yeah, like in actual Durham pubs and stuff, it's like £5 for a pint and some ridiculous things like that. But actually, at Durham, I don't know. Maybe it's just where I'm from, but less people drink beer in Durham than at home. It's like maybe it was just when I was in first year, and then everyone started getting converted into beer drinkers. But that's what I noticed. I don't know why beer's on this list, because I'm like, beer, isn't that like everywhere? I don't know.
Yeah, so it should be. But no, I would say though, on your point about alcohol on beer being cheaper here, it's not in the supermarkets. I would say in the supermarkets in Durham, it's exactly the same price. If you go to Tesco or Sainsbury's.
Yeah, but I think that people get converted to drinking beer in first year.
Yeah,
I think.
And also, it's so much better drinking beer, with people in a bar or a pub than buying it from Tesco. It's like worth the extra money.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just my lockdown nostalgia saying that, but it's true.
No, if it's draft beer, I agree with that. Definitely. Okay. That I think that well and truly is Agony Aunt done and dusted for us. Maybe this will be a reoccurring feature on the pod. I'm just waiting for Zoe to get a bit furious with me for using that phrase again. But no,
the pod.
Maybe
it's awful. I hate it. Do not get it.
But yeah, no.
Why?
It just is odd. It's what it is. Anyway, so if you are in fact watching this podcast and have any other pressing questions, maybe we'll do this segment in the next episode as well. So feel free to send them in to Saoirse or Govind.
Yeah, there's a Google form, which I can send to Chappers again. It's still running, like it's always open for submissions, but I can get Chappers to send it out in the weekly wipe. And I can put it on the Aidan's Instagram link tree as well.
He's not made one of those in weeks, though. I think he realized they've not been
much to say
in a hot minute.
Okay, well, yeah, there we go. We're going to take another break, and we'll see you again very shortly. In fact, instantly for you, because you don't get to see the breaks. So yeah, because we are now we are back, people. Okay. We are back in what I've been told to call the land of Poddy C, in true Durham fashion. The podcast. It's resumed for segment 3 out of 3 of the evening, and that's with Emily Jolliffe and the JCR. And I think, Zoe, you have the first question. I'm hoping you do, because I've just lost my notes. Now, here we go. Yeah, Zoe, you have the first question.
Okay, so Emily, could you introduce us to what you do in the JCR and how you first got involved with it?
Yeah. So I'm Emily, and I'm currently the JCR Outreach Chair, which means I am in charge of organising charity fundraisers and charity events, as well as volunteering within Durham community. And I'm also SU rep, which means I represent Aidan students at the Students' Union Assembly, which was today before this, funnily enough. And I'm also the keeper of community spirit. I think that's the title, which basically means I like lead the chants at formals and organise like Aidan's trips, like the beach trip in third term, which hopefully will happen. And what was the second part of that question? How I got involved in JCR? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it was that. So basically, I remember when I came to Durham for post offer visit days where I like stayed the night, and there were like open day reps from Aidan's there who like gave me tours and showed me around. And I just remembered thinking they like looked like they were having a great time because they were all like getting on like friends. They were all friends basically. And I was like, oh, that looks so fun. If I like actually get into Durham, I would really want to do that. So then I did do that. So I became an open day rep in my second term. And I guess that's like the first time I had like real involvement with the JCR, and like I became friends with like the exec at that time. And it's similar to what Ingham was saying about how sports is really good because you can make friends from other years who you otherwise wouldn't. That like definitely is true of JCR involvement as well. Like I made like really good friends with people in different years who otherwise I never really would have seen. So yeah, open day repping was like my first like real involvement, and then from there it kind of just escalated, I guess. Like I just got more and more involved as I realized like what the JCR kind of had to offer. And then I applied to be a FREP, which also when I was in Freshers Week, I thought it looked really fun to be a FREP. So I became a FREP, and then straight after Freshers Week, as in my second year, I applied to be com chair, which was what Outreach Com used to be called. And then, yeah, I've been on the exec ever since the beginning of my second year. And I'm now near the end of my third year, which is scary. But yeah, that's how I got involved. That's quite a long story, sorry.
Oh no, brilliant, Emily. And I would say to that as well, and you're linked to it with hockey. I would just say to, if there are any first years out there who happen to be watching or listening to the podcast, do get involved because obviously there hasn't really been much to do this year, but it is a great like there are lots of opportunities in college life to do many things and to meet many people. And this almost leads me on to the next question, which is, what do you in particular? Oh, bye-bye, Govind. What do you in particular like about the JCR, and how do you think it can be improved?
Oh, good question. So in terms of what I like, I kind of briefly covered some of it, but I do really like that you get to meet so many new people that otherwise I never would have met. Like almost all the people that I get on really well with in the JCR, like my friends, weren't in my friendship circle originally. And then you get to meet other people through their friends, and it's just like a really good way of meeting people maybe outside the normal kind of type that you go for. Like I really like how the JCR is very student run and student led, and I actually do think it has like a really big impact on student like freshers and just in students in general, like what Saoirse was saying about in response to the Agony Aunt, with the person who was worried about coming back to college because of the increased security. Like the exec, so like student volunteers have had a number of meetings with college staff where we've kind of been like representing the interests of livers in and saying like the security, like it can't be like this, like it's not fair for people where like Aidan's is meant to be their home, etc. So I really like how it's kind of like led by students, like for students, because I guess like we all of us know what it's like to be a student, so I guess that helps. Like we're more in touch, I guess, than like college staff would be. Hope they don't shout at me for saying that. And I also just think it is like a really welcoming and like inclusive community, which like kind of leads me into what I think should change. Is I think there's a perception that the JCR is like a big clique, which I think probably has been quite true in certain years. Like I think in the year before I came, the JCR exec were like all best friends, where I'd say that now like the execs definitely like we're all friends, but we're not really all from the same friendship group, which I think is really healthy. So yeah, I think that there's just this perception that it's quite like cliquey and like hard to get into, and like, or you have to be super keen to like be on the exec or like be in the JCR. But I think that's just a misconception, and like people should kind of feel more able to just like get involved with the JCR and not worry that like people won't be welcoming or whatever, because in my experience everyone's been super welcoming.
And I was wondering, do other people want to weigh in on this as well? Any improvements that could be made, or anything that you particularly like about the JCR? Any takers on the panel of superstars?
I think the JCR is sort of, sorry for speaking over you, Ed, but I think the JCR has improved a lot from, like Emily was saying about how people used to just be in the same friendship groups. Now it's just people from like all different areas of college life, and you know, people who normally wouldn't even talk to each other. Like it's good at, you know, showing that people can be in a community together without having to be like clones of each other. So I think we've you know, things have changed quite a lot.
Yeah, and I would say, I was wondering what
I think.
Oh yeah. Oh no, sorry. Go on, Saoirse.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was going to say, I was wondering what people thought about this, but I agree with you, Govind. I reckon from last year to this year, it's got a lot better, the JCR, in terms of the cliquiness. Like I think last year was it was as Emily said as well, it was definitely on the exec at least a feeling that it was just one group of friends on there dominating everything, and now perhaps it is a bit more open. But sorry, Saoirse, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, kind of controversially, that I think the concept of the clique, like, it might be changing now, but I was just going to say that I think that one of the reasons some people think it may be a clique is just because, similar to like a lot of societies, I think it's like similar people go to the roles, and because they're similar, they get on. So it appears that they're all from the same friendship group, but really there's actually quite a broad group of people. Like, for example, I'm not really in Emily's friendship group, for example, but because of the JCR, I would call Emily like a really good friend now. But like I wouldn't have been friends with her before. So I think that that's kind of one of the things that people get confused about. It's like people become friends because of the JCR and because of the exec. It's not the other way around a lot of the time anyway. But yeah, that's kind of just my opinion.
That's interesting. So that again ties into Emily's point, though. I don't want to put words into your mouth, Emily, but what you're saying about it looks like it's a clique because the people are all friends, but once you get involved in the JCR, it's hard not to make friends with the people there. But yes, Zoe, I think you have the. Yes, no, sorry, you do have the next question, Zoe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up quickly on what Emily said as well, I feel like, and I obviously can't speak for all freshers, but from the experience I've had of it, I've never felt like. I felt like the exec was almost quite welcoming, as in, like, I met Emily at I don't know if you remember this, at the very start of freshers.
I do remember.
Yeah, and you just, like, you were really, like, friendly and nice, and I have an image of meeting people from the exec, and Saoirse as well, like, from the very start when I first met you, I had, like, good vibes, you know, I was never like, ooh, like, you know, I don't know. So I feel like I did notice that there was maybe a bit of tension within it, but like towards people outside of it, at least towards freshers, I didn't really notice much of that. But yeah, I don't know about before. Okay, so then the next question would be, as a panelist, do you ever feel bored in JCR meetings?
This is a good question. Yeah, definitely. But I think I don't think anyone would believe me. I don't think anyone would believe me if I said I didn't. Like, a lot of it is really interesting. Like, I love exec position husks. I think they're great, especially when elections are contested. I just think they're really like interesting, and when people ask questions, I just think it's really good. But a lot of the time, like, just the motions, really, unless it's like a controversial motion. We love a controversial motion. But if it's like a boring motion, you just have to like read it out, and that bit is like quite boring. But I do miss like in-person JCR meetings, because even though like the same thing happened in them, it was, I would say, a lot more fun and like engaging. especially because you could like sit with your friends and it was much more of like a social event. Whereas now it's like just sitting on Zoom, and like it is very like different vibe. Like I remember before JCL meetings, like I used to like go to the bar with friends and like get a pint or whatever. Whereas now obviously can't do that. So yeah, I guess I do get bored in Zoom meetings, but defo like it's less boring in-person meetings, I think. But I think that's true of all Zoom meetings. I don't think
could I interject?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Just real life JCR meetings they were always really fun. It was like sometimes you people you hadn't seen in months would be there, and you get to talk to them and just get, even though sometimes there were boring motions, like Emily said, sometimes there were really interesting husks and like contested elections and just funny things happening. And also there was pizza at half time. So
and a pretty good chair last year as well, dare I say.
Then something happened to him.
What did you say?
I said, and then something happened to him.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know where we haven't seen him since. He went into hiding. And I was just also going to say, when you're talking about the online meeting, just one quote that really stuck with me from the last meeting was when the chair Max said, and now okay, we've got to add you to the panel so you can do your host, and that means that the panel members outnumber the people actually watching us. And I'm just thinking, no, I hope that doesn't happen to this podcast. I hope we get hopefully 6 viewers, but that I really felt a bit of pain then. Although obviously you have people watching on multiple people per device in some households, but yeah, that was that stuck with me. Oh yes, Emily.
Also, just on that note, I think Ed, you had this conversation with Aisling, and then I had this conversation with Aisling. But I thought it was really interesting because the dynamic is definitely different in Zoom JTL meetings with the whole exec on the panel. Because normally, for the benefit of freshers who don't know, but in real life JCR meetings, you have like a stage, and the stage just has the JCR chair, the president, and the secretary who takes minutes, and then like the rest of the exec is just like in audience. So I think that makes it a lot more interactive because like kind of everyone's on the same level, whereas I think it is a bit more difficult on Zoom meetings because the exec are like all on the panel, so then they're like able to talk, and it's like more difficult for people like in the audience to join in. Yeah,
and you're right about that, actually.
Just an observation.
No, I think you're right actually, because looking back at it last year, I can't remember what it was about, but we did actually have some pretty good debates. Towards the end of my time as chair, I remember. Can anyone here remember any of the good debates last year? Maybe that would disprove my point, but there were a couple of motions.
I remember the debate that Emily to merge CotCom and UnionCom.
Yes.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you had some very strong points through another medium.
I missed that meeting where they tried to merge my old position with UnionCom, which they succeeded in doing, clearly, because I'm now not CotCom chair. And I was at a 1975 concert. And then, but I got my friend who was also in CotCom. She was at the meeting, and apparently she was like voicing why they shouldn't be merged. But then they got merged anyway, so it's fine.
That was
also another really beefy meeting was when Longman wanted to make sports captains have to come to JCL meetings. Yes. And then him and like the rugby captain at the time, like there was just a lot. That was fierce. Yeah, that was like the most exciting one, I think. But I like those JSL meetings.
I remember that there were people at the shop after that getting involved in the debate carried on, and it even went into group chats as well. It really had divided college over a high stakes issue.
With all these with all these debates and everything, even though they can be quite a spectacle for us. If some freshers, especially when you just start, you don't know what's going on, and then it's just people arguing over something you don't understand, and it just seems really pointless. Don't you think that's a problem too, Emily? The kind of inaccessibility of the JCR.
Wait, could you like repeat that last bit because my Wi-Fi like cut? Like, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, like, you know, when like there's debates over something that, to people who aren't well versed in, you know, the workings of the JCR, it'll just seem like pointless arguing over nothing. Don't you think that the inaccessibility can be a problem, and you know, it needs to be demystified?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That word's used all the time, but
also that's like a I just thought of something that I was really relevant to. No, I can't remember. But I mean that also is I think that also makes the exec seem more cliquey because the exec are all in the know of like the goings on within college and stuff. So then I think it does seem quite inaccessible to freshers and also like second and third years who aren't like in the know. And also I think that happens especially with like some like technical motions, like with the vice president motion, for example. Like you kind of had to maybe know other people at colleges where there was a vice president and it didn't work, or like you had to know kind of the ins and outs of the motion, which I think are quite inaccessible. But I think this has been like a problem for ages with JCR, just like words like Ed, was it your I think it might have been last year's first JCR meeting, and like the JCR chair was like, oh, we're at quorum or something, and then one of the freshers was like, what on earth does quorum mean? Because that's not like a
I remember that.
But I think Max, this year's chair, has done like a really good job because they've actually made like a JCR jargon dictionary. I'm not quite sure where it is, but they've definitely like publicized it. And I'm sure anyone listening, there'll be many of you listening, I'm sure. Any of you listening could like message Max and they'd be really happy to send it to you. Because I think just like loads of the words even are super inaccessible.
Yeah. Well, I think actually like Max has done quite a good job at you know, making it more accessible. And I also think you know, Ed, when he was chair, he also did a good job. He basically like laid the foundations for it.
Thank you.
You know,
I have to disagree with that because Ed
no,
promised me
okay, well, I can just
a JCR jargon.
Say yes, no.
yeah, but he started doing it and he did the foundations and everything, and then Max came and like, you know,
on that point,
turned it into.
I didn't stand for re-election, right, as JCR chair. But what I will say is, this is my only word I'm going to have on the matter. There were 4 candidates to try and replace me, which did mean 4 people thought they could have done a better job. Which
Ed, you're not chair anymore. You don't have to be neutral.
No, I know. But what I will say is, all 4 of them tried to copy my manifesto. I said unjumble the jargon. Max then says I'm going to have a jargon buster. I mean, this is plagiarism, but I'm happy with the plagiarism because it did mean that you know, Max actually did it. I just said about it, so spoke about it. So no. It just seems to be all I can do. Sorry, Saoirse, you were going to criticize me. I am not Piers Morgan.
Well, it seems like they just came and like made your ideas, you know,
exactly
a lot more developed.
Actually did what they said they were going to do. Sorry,
Emily's got her hand up.
Yeah, I think Emily's key.
I don't want to feel like chair again in this thing. Emily or Saoirse, please, one of you.
This has been more than 70 seconds, I think.
Fucking hell.
Well,
sorry, I didn't
2
swear.
things. One, who are the 4 people after you was chair? Because I can only think of 3.
I think it was 3 who were running.
No.
It was 3.
Yeah.
There were 4. There were 4.
Fake news number 1.
It was
No. There were 4.
Are we allowed to name them, or is that
No,
freedom of
I don't think
information
we can name them.
breach? Yeah.
But
4
then
candidates.
fake news number 2, because I'm pretty sure every chair election in like since like the history of time has said, wait, is my Wi-Fi being bad or is Ed's Wi-Fi being bad? Oh well, I was going to say. Secondly, I feel like every JCR chair election ever has said like, I will demystify the jargon of the JCR, and no one actually does it until Max did. So I don't think that you can call plagiarism on that point because everyone has said that forever. Like, yeah, I'll make the JCR more accessible.
That is a fair point. That is a fair point.
Shout out to Max.
So shout out to Max. If they're listening to
Max
the podcast, we love you.
Saoirse, sorry, you were going to say something as well.
That's only 50 minutes late. Nice.
What was that, Zoe?
Saoirse.
Ed's Wi-Fi's gone. But all I was going to say was Ed promised, apparently on his manifesto, promised to do a Dragon Buster. And I messaged him countless times and he never produced it. And I did one in the Badger, or no, not the Badger actually, the Boggle once. And Ed still didn't contribute to that one. So
are you saying that
you may have a small
Jono
point about this,
the secretary is the most important member of the exec?
Oh yeah, 100%. Obviously. Otherwise, all of those people that read the minutes would never know what was going on, because I know there's loads of them. They all read them.
Saoirse, also to your point, could I just also say there was a reason I didn't stand for re-election, and it's because I'd known that I'd done an apocalyptic job as chair, so there was no point trying. But yes, I do see your point. Okay, we have oh yes, a final question. And if you thought that it wasn't controversial so far in this segment, just wait till you hear this. Emily, do you have any wider thoughts on Durham student politics? For example, what do you think about toxicity and obnoxiousness, or potential, I should say, on Durfest? And if you think there is any of that, how do you think we should tackle it?
Okay, so student politics in Durham. So I don't know how many of you guys, but I think all of you on the panel will know, but I mean, our many listeners will know that last year there was a referendum motion, I don't know which one, for Aidan to disaffiliate from the Students' Union, because last year there was this whole debacle about the SU being undemocratic and just this like big problem with the elections that, I don't know, it was a really big deal at the time. So then Aidan's were like, no, we like don't want to endorse the democracy. So if you'd asked me this like 6 months ago, I would have said, oh, the SU sucks. And to some extent, I would maybe still agree that the SU isn't as effective as it could be, and the JCRs generally do more for students than the SU does. I would definitely stand by that. Like, I've been way more positively affected by the JCR than the SU. And I think that's true of a lot of students, but not all. Obviously, the SU does do good stuff. But yeah, recently I did an interview with Shern, the current SU pres, who's just been re-elected for next year to be SU pres again, for her culture commission, which was talking about like wider Durham culture, like toxicity, etc. And yeah, I do think there's like a massive problem in Durham, just of like I don't really know what the right word is, but just like it's quite like unwelcoming, like there's like so much racism, sexism, homophobia, etc. And I think that's obviously a massive problem. But I do think that like Shern's Culture Commission, she hasn't paid me to say this, I swear, but as in that is like a good step in the right direction to like actually kind of acknowledge the problems within Durham, because I think everyone kind of knows they exist, but no one like really questions them, or it's just like, yeah, like Durham's like dominated by like straight white men, but like that's just the way it is. Whereas I think like it's really important that we kind of challenge that. And also I mean that just in terms of like if you're in the dining hall with like your friends and someone makes like I don't know, like a racist joke or a sexist joke, like call it out. Like it's just not okay to be making those kind of jokes anymore, like at all. So I think like, yeah, Durham, sorry, I don't know if this is answering the question at all, but I think like wider Durham like culture is like overall probably quite negative. And I don't mean, what do you, as in, I know Durfest, as I have seen Durfest, but what do you like, what kind of toxicity do you mean on Durfest?
Well, no,
examples? I might have just missed them all.
No, I agree with you on that. The examples I had in mind were more well actually about less serious issues than what you were speaking about, and obviously those are very important that we address that. I think on that, to be honest, I don't have all the answers, but I think it could be that, you know, people, as you say, accept these problems and think, well, I'm only going to be here 3 years, and it's kind of hard to get lasting change when no one stays around that long. But what I was thinking about with Durfest was about kind of smaller stuff that people often tend to be quite negative about, because it's just an anonymous platform where people can speak their minds, and that's great. And it's a bit like Twitter in that respect as well. Like, it is great because so many people get heard, and that is kind of what democracy is all about. But for me, I was just thinking sometimes on Durfest they use that anonymity to just be really negative and unnecessarily so at times. So I want to bring you guys in on this, but I was just thinking, how many debates have you read on Durfest or whatever? So say it's about a no detriment policy or about a policy being enforced in the library or whatever. Like, these aren't life and death issues, but then you have people addressing each other as you've read my article. It's a casual plug, by the way, in the Badger. But like, people saying like sweetie this or whatever. Like, how can you say that? And it gets so aggressive. And I was just wondering, Zoe, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I did notice when I first got here, and this was, like, it's gotten a little bit worse lately on this particular issue, but it was already it was there at the start. This whole, like, seats in the library thing, like Billy B seats, and people just, like, kicking off big time about people not canceling their appointments. And it's, like, it's a small thing. And fair enough, like, it's, not a huge...
It's such a big problem. It's such a big problem.
And like, yeah, so I understand that people were upset, but like, I've seen full on, this was close to the start of the year, but I've seen full on arguments in the comments of people being like, yeah, like, this is unacceptable, like, we should keep freshers out of the library, like, they shouldn't be allowed in the Billy B. And then, like, freshers just, like, tearing into complete strangers in Durfest comments for everyone to see. And it just, like, it's a bit intense. Like, I don't understand why there needs to be, like, World War III in the comments over Billy B.
And I was going to say as well, it's possible actually to live your life in like with your internal language being Durfest complaints. Like, you could be like, I don't know, you see, there's like, it's like a specific language when you look on Durfest. Sorry, Emily, and you just, like, you could just be like, lol, I hate how people don't walk properly down the road where they should be in single file or whatever. And it's that kind of sarcastic abuse, whatever. I don't know. I don't agree with it too much. Sorry, yeah, Govind, Emily, many people have many things to say. Do go on. Emily first.
Shall I go first?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Emily first. Okay.
Well, mine's just related to the Billy B seats because I'm actually quite passionate about this issue. Also Billy B seats, like, even before there was a tiny, stupidly small capacity. Well, it's not stupidly small. Makes sense because of COVID. I do get it. But there's always been, like, since my first year, and I'm sure since, like, England's first year, there've been, like, angry Durfesters, like, can the freshers get out the library? Like, we don't want, like, don't wear your leavers hoodie if you're going to come to the library and you're a fresher. And it just is a problem. I bet it's a way bigger problem now. But also it's like a Durham Uni problem in that they don't have enough study spaces. So it's like Durham Uni needs to do better in providing study spaces. But I feel like Durfest is just like the platform that we can, like, vent our anger.
The thing is, I think though, since then, obviously the TLC has been built in my time at university. So before I came, that did. Oh, so say in my first year, that didn't exist at all. It was literally just a field next to Mary's, and I literally remember walking through paths, and that was literally just a field. And they actually started. I think they started building it in Christmas in my first year. So that's obviously created a lot more study spaces. So the situation was actually even worse before that. So that's but obviously that still hasn't created enough for everybody. So still more has to be done. But I think the university realised that it is a problem, and hopefully are trying to come up with methods of improving that.
And yeah, absolutely. And Govind as well. You had something cool.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't. It's kind of to do with the study space thing, but it's more to do with Durfest in general. Like, before I came to Durham, I read Durfest sometimes, and it made me not want to come here just because of how, like, annoying a lot of the submissions are. I mean, loads of them are quite, funny and insightful, but some of them are just really entitled and sarcastic and whiny, basically, and it just pissed me off. And I feel like the admins of Durfest do it on purpose because they're like, oh, if we accept a submission that can be quite controversial, it's going to get a lot of reactions, it's going to get a lot of comments, it's going to get a lot of fights in the comments and stuff like that. I think this is why I think Aidan's Crush and Fest should be used, because it's much more wholesome, and we're like leaving the we're being disaffiliated from the SU. We should also disaffiliate from Durfest and just use Aidan's Crush and Fest. But also, there was recent toxicity on Crush and Fest So I feel like that's what Zoe wants to talk about. Zoe, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was some savagery in there. Like pretty recently, I was just like, there are a few that I read. Okay, there was one that mimicked a certain email that I think most people will probably have found relatively entertaining. But there was also there were a few that were kind of attacking the exec and the president, which Ed brought up in his article, which I thought
An
was
excellent
a bit
read.
An excellent read in the Badger that you should all be reading.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I remember seeing that and thinking, what, because if anything, for me, it seemed like the exec were the ones doing the most for us and trying to, make things less hard on us. And people just, yeah.
That's a chunk.
And people just absolutely savaging Tom in the on Crush and Fest just seemed a bit, silly and unnecessary. But yeah, as a whole, I agree that Crush and Fest is less dramatic than Durfest, also because no one ever sends anything in anymore. But yeah.
And Zoe as well on that point, I would say it's silly what people put on Aidan's Crush and Fest, but I'm pretty sure that stops people from running and wanting to do things on the JCR as well, because I remember when things weren't going too well for me as JCR chair in my learning phase, and the whole thing was a learning phase, but at the steepest part of the learning curve, and people were just abusing me on Crush and Fest. It was actually making me feel pretty upset at the time. And it's that's part of the reason why I didn't want to run again. And I know there are other people as well I spoke to. If you read my article, there's more on this, by the way. But that's the hat trick of plugs. No more, I promise. But yeah, I spoke to people as well in first year last year, and about what's it like if you're on the exec, or should I do it or should I not? And I just told them my experience, and then they were like, yeah, no, that's it. Then I guess I won't apply, and that is kind of sad, because we do need people to do things. But yeah, so Alex, I believe you have something to say about the JCL's relationship with alcohol as well, just because there wasn't enough dimensions of controversy in this segment. What did you have to say?
No, to be so.
Alcohol.
I mean, I've never as such have done that much with the JCR, but thing is, well, I'll come to that in a minute, but I just want to say something else first. So I've always felt with the JCR though, even though I haven't been directly involved, you're as an agent, you are part of it, and whenever there's sort of any motions that are trying to be passed or people are running for roles, I kind of feel like it's important that even though sort of I wouldn't say I'm directly involved in JCR, it's important that that I at least vote. So it maybe means taking a bit of effort, a bit of time to read people's manifestos, what they're running for, and sort of reading a bit around what the different motions are and how they're actually going to benefit college as well. And to be honest, for me, it kind of helped. So one of my best mates, you all know Rob, quite heavily involved in the JCR. So a lot of the time I'm asking Rob, what does this actually mean? Things like that. And then Rob can explain it to me, and then I can actually make my own informed opinion on the matter. And then obviously voting through that. So I wanted to get that out. But also back to Ed, what you said about the drinking aspect of the JCR. When there was actual meetings, there used to be different games that you could play. So obviously the bar was open beforehand, so everyone would go to the bar, get your pitchers of beer or whatever you were drinking. And then there would be sort of games as if if certain things are going to be said, things like that, you can have drinks between your friends, things like that. And then obviously the pizza is a highlight, a literal highlight of the whole meeting. Getting that Domino's halfway through, that's always a good point. So yeah, that's my input on the JCR field.
I seem to remember really struggling with that pizza order for some reason in one of my first meetings, because it's the chair or the vice chair that has to do it, and I don't know why I couldn't do it. I think I had to get Liv Cotton, who was the vice chair at the time, and I can't remember what happened, but it wasn't brilliant. But yeah, sorry, Saoirse, I think you were going to say something, or.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know what meetings Alex was going to, but I never received a Domino's at a JCR meeting. I always had Pizza Uno.
Yeah, it's
we're too cheap for full-on Domino's.
Maybe I'm talking from when I was actually living in college. So like
Yeah, you must
4
have had
years
a
ago.
bougie
when there was a
JCR.
lot more
Yeah.
funding for the JCR.
Maybe.
Yeah.
To buy
Maybe.
10,
They cut that pretty
10
quick.
large pizzas and donuts.
Although to be fair, most of the funding probably went on vegan pizzas because Emily likes to eat those all up.
Emily, sorry, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, the vegan pizzas is so good. I remember there was like a big I don't know what the word is, big like attempt to get gluten-free pizzas, but apparently the budget could stretch to that because they already had vegan pizzas, so it couldn't do both. Also, I was just going to say, for what it's worth, just in response to Ed's criticism of being on the exec, I guess. I think, as in I totally no. It's just, and I totally see where you're coming from, and I'm not saying that exec is universally like great or whatever, but I do think that like for a lot of people it can be like super worthwhile and super rewarding and super fun. So yeah, I would say like don't be like put off applying because of like maybe preconceptions that you have about the JCR, because I'm sure like lots of people were really worried about applying and then decided to go ahead with it anyway, and then actually had like a really good time on the exec. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
And also to that point as well, Emily, I would say if I was given the choice again, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I still would have run and done what I did as chair for the brief period that I did, because it was like there were actually a lot of rewarding moments in there. I think the meetings actually, from my opinion at least, were pretty okay. Okay, they dragged on a bit, but also just in terms of the lessons and the experiences that you learn when you do something like that, because I think it's important just in life in general to try and push yourself and do something out of the comfort zone. And, there's no better way of doing that than a job you're completely unprepared for. So maybe if I had advice, it would be get a little bit of experience, or research or what have you. But definitely, yeah, do these things because they are helpful. I would also say, I mean, this might be an interesting thing looking into the future. I'm not sure how interesting actually, but looking at next year for the JCR, because we're going to have a lot of new people in the exec. And so what you were saying earlier, Emily, about it being it seeming a bit intimidating because you have members of the exec who know everything and are really well rehearsed and experienced, and then freshers coming in not having a clue. Or perhaps if you have a new inexperienced exec trying to figure things out between themselves, I mean, I don't think that could do much damage. And actually it might be very beneficial, because then people in the meetings will be looking at it and thinking, oh yeah, I mean, I'm not too intimidated. I'll get involved with this as well. But I was wondering what people would think about that. So
yeah, I definitely think it'll be quite like a different like exec experience, I guess. And then also, yeah, that will definitely like translate to the like inaccessibility or whatever of the exec and JSR in general. And yeah, I think it will be quite interesting because I think, I don't know, maybe like exec position, say like some more formals. If you've been to like multiple formals and balls, you kind of have like a preconceived idea of like what they should be. Whereas if you haven't been to either, as obviously all the freshers unfortunately have not, you're maybe like more free to kind of think of new ideas and kind of change things up a bit, which I think like could be really healthy for the JCR. But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see kind of what happens with the JCR, like what kind of a difference it makes having like freshers or just like more inexperienced people on the exec. Yeah, like kind of what direction that goes in.
And I'd quite like to just add to that as well. In terms of in terms of more of like a sports point of view, and like how societies are run, that so far there's a lot of like traditions that lots of different clubs and lots of different societies currently have. And my only worry with this is that some of these are actually going to get lost, because we're getting to a position where the people who are leading those socials and running those societies next year are potentially in a position that haven't really experienced that before. And it could be fantastic, and it could be bringing completely new thing to it, lots of new ideas. But some of those old traditions that have been passed down from years to years for who knows how many years have been happening, some of those might get lost along the way. And that's actually one worry that I've got about this.
Maybe we need to codify the the social rules and just prevent any freshers from getting their eyes on them. But
the issue is,
yeah.
Vicky, we can't coach them, so it's
exactly
it's
yeah.
a tough one. It's a tough one. What we need is a month after exams where we can just squeeze in all the socials we should have had for the last 2 years. Just have a month of it, and I reckon within a month you can probably get most of the traditions down.
I would definitely be able to get behind that. Absolutely 100%. Zoe, I think
Yeah, I mean, on that exciting note, that's probably us done for today. Thank you for joining us and for participating in our different segments. And yeah, Ed, anything you want to add?
No, thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned for more. I don't know when the second episode will be coming, but there will be one, hopefully, providing we don't get thrown off the internet. But there's no reason for that to happen. I'll censor my swearing. So yeah, thank you very much for. I'll try at least. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to our superstar guests as well. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Govind, and thank you, Saoirse. It's been a pleasure having you on board. So yeah, that's all from us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.